Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to ITV. November has been a month touted to be Pulmonary Hypertension Awareness Month, and we'd like to use this time to teach you and to teach ourselves a little bit more about pulmonary hypertension, to raise awareness for it, and to bring it to almost every home in the country so that everybody is talking about it. Welcome to the show. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to Shakira and Humayra.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It's so good to have you on, and we're thrilled to have you both in our studios today.
Jazakallah.
Shakira, you are the founder of PH Kids SA. Tell me a little bit about how this campaign started, what was your motivation to start it, and where you've been going thus far.
It's been a long journey. In 2012, my son got diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension. He then passed away a year later. 9 months after that, my daughter Humaira was diagnosed with the same disease. At first, we didn't do any awareness. We felt alone. There were 2 or 3 other people we knew with the disease, and there is an organization. But recently, I just found that awareness needed to be done in kids more than anything. With her being on her oxygen and going out in public places, she used to get stared upon all the time, and that just forced me to start something where kids and adults can know about the disease.
And alhamdulillah, it has taken off phenomenally well.
Alhamdulillah, with the support of my friends and the Caring Women's Forum, yourself, and everyone else involved, it's gone to a different level. And everyone's understanding the disease much better than previously.
I think to introduce our viewers to it, Shakira is a mum of 4 children, 3 of whom have been diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension, 1 who has passed away, and this is her daughter Humaira, who also has pulmonary hypertension. Shakira, if we're talking about the campaign, how it's taken off recently, there's been the Blue Lip Kiss Challenge. Tell us about that, and also a little bit about the Heart Challenge that was taking place last week.
The Blue Lip Kiss Challenge comes from the US, where they were doing a lot more awareness programs. With pulmonary hypertension, it's a lack of oxygen in your body. So pulmonary hypertension, children and adults would get dizzy. They become very pale and their lips go blue. So to form the public in solidarity with them, everyone painted their lips blue. So whether it was with lipstick, blue lollipops, bubblegum milkshake, anything to make your lips go blue, to show that you are aware and support the campaign. And Heart took it upon themselves to make Blue Hijab Day as well, so that us as a community can form a closer bond, and that went off tremendously well. We had amazing support from the Islamic schools, from all the madrasas nationwide.
And I know I walked around that day, and people in malls, walking everywhere, all had blue hijabs on. So that took off phenomenally well. Do you feel that the awareness that you set out to do this month has reached its objective?
Definitely. Every house we walk into nowadays, everywhere we go, everyone's talking PH, pulmonary hypertension. It's so rare that when we used to tell people, even our close family, they couldn't understand. They hear the word hypertension and they think it's just normal blood pressure. When you say pulmonary, then they think you've got heart problems. So they could just never understand it. So I think with all the awareness, people are understanding much better.
And I think it's remarkable and very admirable that you've taken this on yourself to spearhead this campaign and to be in the forefront of it. As a mum, how does it feel knowing that this is something that you've taken on for your children and for your family, and the number of families that you've touched along the way?
Well, it's been very difficult. I don't know, I put her interests at heart first. I've got boys at home, the one who's got pulmonary hypertension, but he's dormant at the moment, and inshallah I'll keep it that way. The elder one also, he's, shukr alhamdulillah, he's free of the disease. But I think as a family we wanted people to understand it better. And yeah, so we wanted to put her interests at first. So it's emotional. It becomes very draining also, because all they're hearing in the house is pulmonary hypertension all day long. But I think it just makes us aware and closer.
Inshallah. Shakira, can we start a little bit about your story? How did your story even begin, your experiences with pulmonary hypertension?
In 2012, my son was in grade 1 at the time. He started off with just a fever, just like anyone else. You don't think that from one fever you'd land up with a disease that would take your child's life. And not saying that a fever means you have pulmonary hypertension, because just now all the parents go crazy. It was basically the alarm bell in the body saying that there's something wrong. We never used to really go see doctors or anything. Alhamdulillah, they were always healthy, especially him, Mohammed Zaid. We went then to the pediatrician, and they just said no. It was a fever that never went away, and then eventually came up with a rash. The pediatrician then said no, they thought it was some other disease that affects the kidneys, but if his urine was clear, then he'd be fine. And they made us do 2 blood tests. After that, we went home, but we got a call from the doctor, and I think from that call, that's when our nightmare began, to say that his platelet count was high, his CRP level, infection level was very high. We then got admitted into hospital where they did tests. He was then in hospital and transferred from one hospital to the next for about a month, where doctors did not know what was going on. They first thought it was bronchitis, but they saw something in the lungs that just wasn't right. They did many tests on a daily basis, but eventually we had to do a lung biopsy. And with him, he presented with a lung disease first, and at the time they diagnosed him then with secondary pulmonary hypertension. But in retrospect now, with my daughter being diagnosed, they feel that they'd misdiagnosed him incorrectly. And that's the thing with pulmonary hypertension, it's often misdiagnosed. Okay. So yeah, they did a lung biopsy, which is one of the worst, most painful biopsies you can ever do, because with every breath you take, it's very sore, because you've got a pipe stuck into your lungs. So it was very painful for a 7-year-old to go through. But alhamdulillah, he fought hard, and he was very brave. He then subsequently got diagnosed with the secondary pulmonary hypertension. He was put on home oxygen. The saddest thing for him was that he couldn't play sport, and that's the thing with pulmonary hypertension. Your physical activity is very limited. You can't run, you can't walk long distance. Stairs, as silly as it sounds, is a killer. Just to go up or down steps is very difficult. And it was his dream also to be a professional sportsman. So I think that was the hardest thing the doctor had to tell him, was that he couldn't play sport. But I think with that maturity comes Allah gives him so much understanding, and he took it in his stride. And yeah, we just moved on from strength to strength. You know, you start finding other activities, other interests that they excel in, and that's what he did. He loved building things, he loved robotic things, Lego, technology, iPads, computers. So that's what he would do, and his favorite was the Quran. He used to say he'd want to be one day the Imam of the Haram. So yeah, with all of that, it kept him going. And yeah, so
I think I saw that video of him that was on YouTube where he was reading, I think it was a week before he had passed away. And a remarkable little boy, and like you're saying that, you know, even though he knew his limitations in terms of sports, it's difficult to explain to a 7-year-old that now you no longer can run around with your friends, or you can't do certain things that you were used to. But like you said, he just took that in his stride. And I think that's also testimony to the parenting that he's had, that you stood by him and helped him through that.
No, alhamdulillah. And then another point with pulmonary hypertension and any lung disease, with that, any infections are very detrimental to your health. Even a slight flu makes you much sicker than what a normal person would be. So with that, we took him out of school, which was also a bit daunting. You're not sure as a parent if you're doing the right thing. We took him out of school, and I asked him if that's what he wanted, and he was very wise. He said, no, whatever I thought was best. But I think it was the best decision we made. 5 months after that, he passed on. And alhamdulillah, we as a family got to spend a lot of time together.
Alhamdulillah. Shakira, how old were all your other kids at this time?
Mohammed Zaid was 8, Nabil was 10, Yusuf was 6, and Humaira was just 3. So they were all very tiny. Emotionally, it was very difficult. But Allah never puts you through anything you can't handle. At the time, you think you wouldn't go on. But alhamdulillah, I'm here today, and I'm sitting in the studio here. So alhamdulillah,
And
Allah
doing
has
so
given us
much
strength.
more for this campaign.
Ameen.
So alhamdulillah, you're right. As you said, Allah only tests you as much as you can bear. We're going to be taking a short break, and we'll be back. Stay tuned and keep posted while we chat to Shakira Bodhania and Humaira. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to ITV. Today our special guest is Shakira Bodhania and her beautiful little daughter Humayra Bodhania, speaking about Pulmonary Hypertension Awareness Month. Shakira, earlier before the break we were busy discussing Mohammed Zaid's journey through pulmonary hypertension. You said he was diagnosed when he was 7 years old. From the point of diagnosis to the time he passed away, how long was that time period?
It was exactly 1 year. Prognosis and life expectancy with pulmonary hypertension, especially idiopathic, meaning no cause, is 1 to 3 years.
Were you even, I know you can never be prepared for it at all, but how did you deal with that part of your life?
You know what, when he got diagnosed, the doctor told us it was rare, but with the medication, not to worry, he'll be okay. So I don't think in the back of our mind we realized it would take him away, but Allah knows best, and he went away peacefully. But it's a shock, and a part of you is always lost forever. And alhamdulillah, we moved, I can't say on, but we learned to live every day, and we just take each day as it comes. The hardest would be getting Humaira diagnosed.
I was just going to say, you know, it's one thing just dealing with one child, losing one child, and getting through that, and in a short space of time having to deal with something that you all were suspecting again. Tell us how that went and how long after.
Okay. Well, Mohammed Zaid passed away in May 2013. A few months later, I think it was 2 months later, my husband kept telling me that her heart rate seems very fast, and I just thought he's being paranoid, and I told him no, he's crazy and that he's just overreacting. But at the back of my head I got stressed, and I said, let me take her in, and he kept saying, just take her in and get her checked. But we were scared to go to find out what would the doctor say. Eventually we got the courage, we went through, and our doctor, who was the same doctor that we had previously, he said we being crazy, it would never be because it's so rare. And to our delight, after that visit, he cleared her. He said, no, there's absolutely nothing wrong with her. With pulmonary hypertension, one of the tests they do, it's called a 7-minute walk test. So it's a short distance where people have to run up and down, and anyone can do it. And with pulmonary hypertension patients, even though their mind and body wants to move forward and do it, their heart and their internal organs don't allow them to. They just have so much lack of oxygen that they eventually just drop. She did the test and she was fine, and we were relieved and we made shukr. But 4 months later, we were at a friend's house and they were all playing, running around as kids do, and suddenly she told me she's feeling dizzy and she was on the floor. At first I didn't want to get alarmed, and I try and attribute it to different things, and that's one of the, to change the subject, one of the key factors that I wanted to start the awareness campaign is, even if it's to help one other child, one other parent getting diagnosed early enough so that they can change their way of life or limit their kids' activity and help them, it can go a long way. So because we knew Mohammed Zaid's symptoms, when we saw this, we did get alarmed, and we were a bit startled, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. And I said, no, Allah is great, like, you know, it won't be. I said, let's just wait another 2 or 3 weeks and see how she is. And if it's fine, it will be okay. And that's the thing with pulmonary hypertension, is you can have very good days, like Alhamdulillah Humaira is having today. But there are moments where things can just turn in a second. And she was fine for almost 2 weeks, and it was that 2-week deadline, and all of a sudden we were again at a friend's house, and my other son came running in to tell me that she can't walk and she's on the floor. And I ran out, and she was dizzy but not passed out. And when they become dizzy, they're very lame, and they're lethargic, and they're pale with light blue lips. And I picked her up, and it happened again that afternoon, and we phoned the doctor immediately, and he said, no, please bring her in first thing Monday morning, which we did. And then one of the main tests the pediatric cardiologist would do is an ECG followed by a cardiac echo. And I mean, if those two already signal the pulmonary hypertension, their gold stamp of approval would be putting her under anesthetic and doing a cardiac catheterization. So basically they just insert the pipes through the thighs into the heart to measure the amount of pressure that is in the heart. And then Humaira was diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension, and that's when they realized that having 2 siblings in one family, one can't be secondary and the other primary. Absolutely. And they said, no, he's had to have been primary, and he got a lung disease also.
How, as a mum, do you sit there and hear this again for the second time in such a short space?
Oh, it's devastating, but like I said earlier, Allah just gives you that strength to pull yourself together. As a couple, we had to face it together, my husband and I, and Alhamdulillah, we did. After that, they made us do a screening on my other children and my husband and I, with an ECG to see if it's the same as theirs. And then my other son, my younger son, also got diagnosed. Although his is not dormant, so he doesn't have the symptoms as yet, which is the scary thing. Is that's why it just goes through. People can go through life never knowing that they have it. And yeah, after that we packed our bags and we went for Umrah to ask Allah for guidance and help. I think that has helped us a lot along the way.
I think that's the one thing that in my interactions with you, with Ahmed, with your family, it's a family very steeped in faith, very accepting of decisions, and yet never giving up, always trying to do all that you can. And I must say, it's exceptionally admirable.
Jazaa, we try our best, but I don't know if we're doing the right thing. But yeah, I think you have no other choice. You can't just sit at home and do nothing. So alhamdulillah, we try everything we can. She's not on the normal mainstream Western medication as per se. With my son's time, we did everything the doctors told us to. With her, we've left her in Allah's hands. We've adopted a more sunnat way of approaching the disease. And I think with that, inshallah, Allah will give us a cure, inshallah. I mean, so we do dry cupping, we do reflexology, we follow homeopathic and alternative medication.
Okay. And in terms of your sources of information, where you've been retrieving stats from, I know you've previously mentioned to me having a link in the States for information.
Yeah, there is a pulmonary hypertension organization here in South Africa, although I'm not very active on there. Also, a lot of the people on there are much older. There wasn't a child that I could connect with, a family I could connect with. Yes. So with the internet being so popular, and on social media, I came across another little boy in the US with it, and I mean, I emailed him and we've been in contact. And that's the thing with a disease like this. You can be miles away, but you understand each other so well that you just connect. Absolutely. And he's been a good support. He's told us anything we need. If we change our mind to go on medication that way, we can come there and he'd be able to help us. And yeah, that's where I got my inspiration. It was lurking to start the campaign, but I think after seeing him and their strength, it's just inspired me to start it, yeah.
And you've started, and it's taken off so phenomenally well, alhamdulillah. Coming back to Humaira and her diagnosis, how much has it changed in terms of her life? How has it affected her understanding of what she's dealing with?
Alhamdulillah, she's a bright little girl. She understands completely what she has. I think having a brother, having gone through the same thing, and that's the scary part also, is that our family have seen it all happen. So, and it's been the same steps of processes that we went through with him. But no, she takes it in her stride. I mean, she has good days, bad days, but alhamdulillah, she puts on a brave little smile every day, and she keeps us going in the house.
And Humaira, you've been very busy at the moment. What have you been doing? Because I heard you becoming very famous very quickly. Can you tell me a little bit about what you've been doing?
I was on a video by Zain Bika.
You're doing a video with Zain Bika. What video are you doing?
Saselavi.
And is the whole video about you? And have you been enjoying it? And when are you doing it with him? Every weekend, every day? How is it working?
Every weekend.
Every weekend. So have you told, I think Uncle Zain needs to, after he sees this, he needs to know you're going to be far more famous than he is. Hey, what's it been like working with Zain Bika?
Cool.
Cool. That's awesome. And tell me, what is this Blue Lip Kiss Challenge about? Do you want to tell everyone out there who's watching you what it's about? Tell us.
It's about when your lips go blue. And you must paint your lips blue.
And you want them to feel like you so that they can also paint their lips blue. And you've put out a big challenge out there for everyone, hey? And what has it been feeling like to see everybody's pictures coming with their lips being blue?
Nice.
Nice. And does your mummy show you everyone's pictures? And do you want to say anything to all of them? Do you want them to keep sending the pictures in? All right. And Humaira's been getting a lot of attention at all the schools that we've been campaigning at. There's no doubt you can see why. She's an absolutely personable, sociable child, mashallah. Shakira, jazakallah to you and your family. We wish you absolute strength along your journey. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always be with you, and inshallah they find a cure for all your children. So that we can be sitting here in a little while talking about the cure that's being found. For all of you out there, please tag on Instagram, PHKidsSA. Put pictures up of your blue lips. Tag Humaira in it so that she can show you, she can see what you've been doing for the campaign. Talk to your families about it, talk to your doctors about it. Let's raise as much awareness as we possibly can. Jazakallahu khair for tuning in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.